Hello, YouTube divers. This is WaterDive122, and I want to welcome you all to another episode of Magic Metal Mondays. Today we are going to be diving into a whole new band with a whole new album. We're going to be starting a whole new subgenre here on this series. But first, before we get into all that, I have to make a announcement to this channel. So last night was Pumpkin Fest over at Silvermont Mansion in downtown Brevard. Um, and they have a trail that runs through the back of the grounds and into the forest and things like that. And near the very end of the trail, was a there was a Pirate Cove exhibit, if that makes sense, and I was a trail actor, which meant that myself, along with two other phenomenal people, well, in this case, for that matter, all went up there and put on a little bit of a show for spectators alike. Um, Honestly, I was up there for 4 hours, but not a single second was wasted. It led to the it led to the great opportunity for new story arcs, creativity. Everything was just great. And I honestly could not have done it without the help of two brilliant people, Elijah Chapman and Meg Ross. Big shout out and thank you to you both. Wonderful acting partners. Um, and hopefully we'll be back again next year for Pumpkin Fest. So with that said, big shout out and thank you to you both. Um, and I've been and 3 of our stories were filmed last night by Meg's mother. Shout out to you too, by the way. Um, and all 3 videos will be uploaded onto my channel um, today. Each of them are about a little bit over a minute and a half long. They're not that long. We did come up with 3 brilliant stories. They're all going to be uploaded onto my channel at least by either this afternoon or tonight or early tomorrow morning. So there's that. So with that said, with that out of the way, let's get into what we all came here for. As I said at the start of the video, we're going to be talking about a brand new band, a brand new album, a brand new subgenre of metal. Now, in the past, I've talked about bands like Halloween and Sabotage, and even some rock bands like Rush and Yes, when it comes to doing album reviews. But today we are going to be talking about a brand new band. We are going to be talking about Under the Sign of the Black Mark by Bathory, released in 1987. Now, a little bit of backstory here before we get into the album review. So, for those of you who don't know, Bathory is a Swedish black metal band who is widely considered to be one of the main pioneers of black metal, along with bands like Dark Throne, Dark Funeral, Mayhem, bands like that. And usually in the past, I usually tend to avoid metal bands that have growls or screams or screeches or anything like that for vocals, like in death metal or funeral doom or black metal for that matter. But Bathory was a band that I really wanted to listen to for a very long time. I didn't care about their screechy vocals. By Quan Thorne, who sings or screams for them on this album. um, but I decided to give Under the Sign of the Black Mark a chance, since a lot of Bathory and black metal fans, for that matter, consider it to be one of the best in the genre. Um, well, there's a lot to talk about. There's 9 songs on this record, although you could basically say 10 for the last outro song, The Winds of Mayhem. But, not even a song, really. It's just like a big sound effect crescendo type of thing, so I'm not going to mention that. But there's 9 songs on this album, so let's get started. The opening track is Nocturnal Obscens. I can never pronounce that last word. And it serves and it's a minute and a half long, and it's basically this intro track for this album. And really, this is a brilliant intro. It's dark, it's suspenseful, it's basically everything you want in a black metal intro, if you will. Again, I'm not a big black metal fan as of now, so I I don't really understand it just yet. So just try to bear with me there. And then right after that, it jumps right into the second track, Massacre, which is heavy as I will get out. Like literally, the first second of the song just blows you away. It just blows you away. It's kind of like a big jump scare happening throughout the first courses of the song, and my God, that song is crazy. It is crazy, I tell you. Massacre is a really phenomenal track, and I love it. Okay, and then after that is a little bit. Then after that is a Woman of Dark Desires. Um, this is a really good black metal track. I do have to say that it's one of my favorites on the album, and the vocals, the chorus is brilliant. I mean, even though it's even though it's screeched and it's just basically a little bit repetitive, but the way that Quanthorne does it, it's just so evil, so dark. It's black metal, for that matter. Woman of Dark Desires, freaking amazing track. And then after that is another punch in the face. The Call from the Grave, I believe, is the name of that song. Like with Massacre, this is a very heavy track. I would have to say that this is probably the heaviest track on the album. It's a really strong track. Really good track for a diehard black metal fan, but for me it was like stuff happening way too much at one time. I still love the song though. There's not a bad song on this record. Um, it's just very heavy, and it took me by surprise first time I listened to it. So yeah, Call from the Grave is a really great track, even though like with I Live From Your Pain from Halloween, it's just stuff happening too much at one time for me to take it all in. So there's there's that. And then after that we go to one of the best tracks on the album, Equimanathorn. I believe that is the name of the song. Please correct me if I'm wrong. That is in my opinion, a pretty weird title, but it is widely considered by a lot of Bathory fans, for that matter, to be one of the best tracks they've ever released, and it's definitely one of my favorite tracks, especially the ending where Quanthorne is basically just screaming his lungs out, basically saying the title of the song like 5 or 6 times. It's just so really it's weird. It's freaking amazing. It's weird, but it's amazing at the same time. Isn't that weird how black metal does that to you? Weird music, but it's also amazing at the same time. What the heck? Um, and then after that, I believe you have the next song, which is Enter the Eternal Fire, which is definitely which is probably my favorite track on the album. It's very close between Enter the Eternal Fire and Woman of Dark Desires. Woman of Dark Desires basically had the chorus that caught me onto the song, but with Enter the Eternal Fire, it is the riffs. There's no denying that Enter the Eternal Fire has the best riffs on this entire album, or at least it does for me. At least other Bathory fans might view it differently, but for me, it has the best riffs. It's the longest track on the album, almost touching 7 minutes, and not a single second is wasted. Like, the song goes by like that quickly, which is crazy, especially given the fact that I haven't even heard Blood, Fire, Death yet, which I'm going to get to very soon, by the way. Holy jeez. Enter the Eternal Fire, definitely one of the best tracks on the album. I love this song. Um, and then after that, we got Chariots of Fire, which is definitely not as good as Enter the Eternal Fire, but um, Chariots of Fire is still a very, very solid track. Even though it's a little bit forgettable at times, like people might, like a lot of black metal fans might think that, is this song even on this album? Or I didn't know this song was on this album, or something like that. Um, but yeah, I like Chariots of Fire. It's not a bad song. Again, like I said, there's no bad songs on this album. There's no filler. Um, this is just kind of one of the weaker, forgettable tracks for me, but it's still good. And then you get the final two songs on here. 13 Candles is a over 5 minute song, which is killer. It's classic black metal in its prime. Another one of my favorite tracks on the album. And then the album ends with a song called Of Doom, which I guess is kind of a sequel to 13 Candles. Like if you put them together, 13 Candles of Doom. That little series, but Of Doom is still a really, really strong way to end this album. And like with 13, I don't think it's as good as 13 Candles, but it's still a very, very, very solid song. And a great way to close off the album. And of course, Winds of Mayhem, classic outro, 23 seconds long. Don't need to mention it. So yeah, that's Under the Sign of the Black Mark. Now, my final thoughts on this album. It's amazing. It's a phenomenal album. There's no filler on this album whatsoever. There's no weak moments. The riffs are great. Quan Thorne's vocals are freaking amazing. The drumming on here is very, very great. The heaviness is here. Everything you could ever want if you're a diehard black metal fan, or if you're just getting into black metal fan, if you're just getting into black metal, I highly recommend this album. Under the Sign of the Black Mark by Bathory, released in the year of 1987, one of the great albums from 1987. But yeah, this is a really, 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 really phenomenal album, and with that, I give it a solid 10 out of 10. This is a very strong album, very well made, well produced, well played, well everything. This album is amazing, and I think that this is the album that will get me into black metal. But who knows? I still have a long journey ahead of me in the world of black metal. So yeah, thank you, Bathory. So with that said, thank you so much for watching, my fellow YouTube divers. This is WaterDive 122 signing out, ready to dive into more fun on YouTube. Thanks for watching.